So today we're going to Stradbroke Island to collect for 3 different projects in the lab. We've got some people looking at stomatopods, which are mantis shrimps, and their amazing vision. We've got a group that are looking at eyes of fish and how the photoreceptors, the cells that receive light in fish, have evolved. And then the third group's also looking at fish, but larval fish, and the genetics of fish vision as they develop from larvae through to the adult.
Oh, shark is just the one just there.
Oh, sorry. No.
Is it flat?
Yeah.
No, right.
It's a bit rough.
It's not looking.
It's dropping off. Not flat calm.
I just want to...
Come on, marine biologist. You've got to be a bit rough and tough.
Woo!
One visitor from Switzerland who's come over here for a few months to work with the lab, and her name's Susanna. She's never been to Stradbroke Island before, she's never been to Australia before, so she's very excited to come over. Now she's interested in the larval fish and the genes of fish vision, and we're taking her out into the field to catch some fish. She's been busily cloning fish genes in the lab in Switzerland, and she's come over here and done a bit of that. I've got a stick. I'll see if, well,
It's going to change it.
the stick is going to change. Well, it's a magic wand. I'm going to whack it into the jetty and the larvae will leap into the bucket. I think Susanna's not only enjoyed Australia for the fish, but we've seen koalas climbing up and down the trees, we've seen kangaroos, we've seen all sorts of things. And she's been going, ooh, ooh, look at that, look at that.
You're going to grab it. We'll keep taking photos. And I'll make it look as if I'm not going anywhere near it. He's going to jump on it.
Oh, but like a cucumber.
So having been a researcher, a neuroscientist in the field for 30 years, the thing I get out of it, which really excites me, is seeing the animals in their natural habitat and being able to share that with people. So you take students out for the first time, you're showing them an animal and they get excited, and it's exciting to see the animal do what it's doing. Then they get into a project and do that for 3 years. Some of them take it on for their whole life. So you're showing people the natural world, which is fantastic. I guess I first met Ken about 15 years ago, maybe 18 years ago, when I came over here and we were first going out with the university, and he's been working on the island and he's got a house on the island, and he's got a rib inflatable boat which he can launch off the beach, which is a great advantage because you can then get directly out to the dive site, so you don't have to drive all the way around the island. But no, he's a great guy. He knows where everything is underwater. He knows all the best dive spots and can read the weather and that sort of thing, which is important, and he can drive a boat forwards and backwards and pick people up. It's bloody good. If you guys come up, just hold the side.
You just need to hold that little bit of a gutter and you don't need to work it again.
Keep it...
Pointy end out to sea.
Yeah. Pointy end out to sea.
To launch the boat, Ken will drive the boat at high speed backwards, put his foot on the brake, and the boat shoots off the trailer into the waves, and we catch it, spin it round, nose into the waves. Very practiced manoeuvre. We've been doing it for years and nothing's ever gone wrong. Getting onto the back of the boat can be difficult. Of course, the young folks spring on board and they're good, but yeah, some of us need a bit of a jump up and down a bit, get a bit wet, and then Ken hops on the back, we all hop in and off we go.
This one is smaller also, so it doesn't go everywhere.
Yeah. I quite like it when they float, because it means they're out of the way. And then they don't drag on the ground, and they don't get caught in the rocks. It's quite good to have a sort of, as long as it doesn't float away and disappear, which has happened. You turn around and your catch bag is, gone, and there's a little stomatopod bobbing along on the ocean. Where it is. The other person we've got out here at the moment is Fanny de Busserols. So she's French, and she's very interested in the vision of deep sea fish. Now, of course, we've been on the reef here, and it's not deep sea. But there's a group of fish out here which are called soldier fish and squirrel fish. They're very dark red fish. Anyone who's snorkeled or dived, you might see them under a ledge on the reef. And it turns out that they are fish that have come up from the deep sea relatively recently. They've got very big eyes, very sensitive eyes. And Fanny's looking at those and comparing the vision of these fish to the deep sea fish that she's worked on previously. Fanny is a whiz with dissecting the eyes of fish and laying them out flat, and you can then make a map of the retina. So she's spent quite a bit of her time in her PhD and postdoc mapping the eyes of fish, which tells you in what direction they look. Do they have a fovea, a very acute zone looking forwards, or are they looking around them? So by mapping the retina, you can get an idea of how that fish is seeing the world around it. So Sarah has been in the lab for a few years now. She's a postdoc, and she's very interested in fish vision. In particular, specialises in damselfish, so the small, colourful fish that you find on the reef.
So what I found before is that fish that feed on algae have the ability to see in the red, because it enables them better to detect the algae. And we just found that fish that has a pretty algae patch, and for that reason I'm getting out his eye now and his retina, and then look at the visual pigment genes later on.
She's been looking at their visual system, and again, a bit like Susanna, she's been looking at the genes of fish vision. Again, very keen, good diver, gets out there in the field, but very good in the lab as well. Then Rachel, who's a PhD student in the lab, Rachel's looking at stomatopods and their remarkable visual system and how they receive light in very different ways. So there's a whole project in the lab which Rachel is part of, which is describing polarization vision and how animals see polarized light.
My research with stomatopods is looking at their circular polarization vision systems. So they're the only animals that we know of so far that can see circularly polarized light. Polarization is a property of light, just like color is, and circular polarization is just one state of that particular type of light. So I'm looking at a particular cell in the eye which is responsible for this type of vision. So I use behavioural experiments and also looking at the eye anatomy to better understand the polarization vision system, how stomatopods use it and how it functions, but also why this type of vision is important.
So it appears that we've stumbled across a new language, a new way of seeing the world, and Rachel is helping unlock some of those secrets by looking at the intricate structures within the eyes, in particular using electron microscopy and different forms of microscopy to look at the structure of the photoreceptors.
Do you need a knife or a safety sausage?
I think I don't have any of those.
I have a second knife as well.
Great. I've got a couple of spares. So.
On any given trip, Alan's role is many things. So as a lab manager, he's got to be able to deal with the nuts and bolts of research and making sure we've got microscope slides when we need them, all the reagents, the chemicals. So he does all of that. He also organises the health and safety. He makes sure that we're diving within the regulations and has his notepad out as we come up and go down. He's noting who's in the water and who's not. He's nice to people, which is good because sometimes you need someone to be nice to people in the lab. Probably the most vital member of the team, to be honest. Without him, it wouldn't happen. We collect our own animals, so that's very hard work. And if you're working hard and you're doing a lot of physical work during the day, you need to have a bit of downtime. So I'm quite happy to kick back and have a cup of coffee and an ice cream or a beer at the end of the day and not be too stressed about working every single hour of the day, but it's important to have that balance between working hard when you need to and having a bit of fun when you need to as well. For me, it's very important to get out there and have contact with the natural world. E.O. Wilson, who's a very famous biologist that worked on ants, has this whole theory about how humans must have contact with the natural world. And I absolutely agree. By coming out into the field and looking at the stuff there, I'm recharging my soul.